Good morning, everyone. Good morning and welcome to this service of the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Grand Traverse. My name is Beth Strawbridge, and I am a member of the Sunday Services Committee, and it is my pleasure to welcome you all, those of you here in the sanctuary and those of you streaming via live stream and watching us from home. If you are visiting or are new to the congregation or returning after an absence, and you are comfortable doing so, we invite you to stand and introduce yourselves. Chris will bring you a microphone so that you can be heard by those streaming at home. Is there anyone who would like to introduce themselves to us today? Well, I don't see anybody, but you are all invited, both those of you who are visiting or new and those of you who have been here for a while. You are invited to the social hall after the service for refreshments and conversation. And if there are any people who just didn't feel like maybe they wanted to stand up, if you take a yellow mug for your refreshments, we'll be able to identify you and make you feel welcome at that time. We look forward to getting to know you. It is our practice in this community to set aside time in our service to share the joys and concerns that mark our lives. For those of you here in the sanctuary, there is a book to your left on the table with the candles where you can enter your message during the centering music. These will be read later in the service. To express those joys or sorrows that you might be quietly holding in your hearts, you are invited to light a candle at any point during the service. We are about to enter sacred time. We make this place and time sacred by our presence and intention. Please silence your cell phones, and as you do so, I also invite you to turn down the volume on your fears and loosen the armor around your hearts. Please center yourselves as we listen to the overture from Raymond performed by Mr. Fred Shapansky.
Whoever you are and wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome here with us this morning. Welcome to this Sunday in deep winter. I'm Reverend Alex, the senior minister here at UUCGT. I use he and him pronouns. And welcome to this Sunday when pigs just might actually fly. We actually have a flying pig right here with us. This whole row, yeah. Well, so I hope none of you are sweating like a pig. This is our first of the services exploring the JETPIG series, delving into the newly articulated shared values of our wider Unitarian Universalist Association. We'll try not to hog up all the fun. I know, yep, you'll be groaning a lot more, I'm sorry. You might as well just start heading home, you know. But in all somber seriousness, time to be serious, I invite you now to hear these words by the poet Emily Dickinson titled, "Hope is the thing with feathers." Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest is the gale, in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that it kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. Come, let us worship together.
Please rise in body or spirit and join in our opening song.
Oh.
No, I know, I'm just kidding. I'm anxious.
As we light the flaming chalice, which is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, I invite you to join in reading our mission statement on the back of the order of service. Grounded in love, we protect the web of life by building beloved community, making good trouble, embodying radical love, engaging in lifelong learning. And now let the song of the singing bowl guide you into a time of stillness.
Now we ask you to please rise in body and spirit and sing number 67 in our gray hymnals or on the screen. We sing together now. We sing now together our song of thanksgiving, rejoicing in God's ages hath wrought, for life that enfolds us and helps and heals and holds us and leads beyond the goals which our forebears had sought. We sing of the freedoms which martyrs and heroes have won by their labors and sorrow their pain, the oppressed befriending, our ambler hopes defending. Their death becomes a triumph, they died not in vain. We sing of the prophets, the teachers, the dreamers, designers, creators, and workers and seers, our own lives expending, our gratitude commanding. Their deeds have made immortal their days and their years. We sing of community now in the making, in every far continent, region, and land, with those of all races, all times and names and places. We pledge ourselves in covenant firmly to stand. You may be seated.
Unless you are a child, in which case you may come up front, or a JETPIG. And don't know, JETPIG's probably a child. Who knows? Hi, good morning. Just Ellie? All right. Yay, the young and young at heart, please come and join us. I've got lots of things to hold on to this morning. Not yet. We're going to get there in a minute, but thank you. Hi, good morning. Hello, hello. All right, so I have a friend with us today, and so does Ellie. They're twins. These are the JETPIGs. there's a lot of them, but this is JETPIG. This is our JETPIG. And Ellie, can you help me tell everyone what JETPIG stands for? So the letters in JETPIG represent our shared values as UUs that the UUA has been working on adopting, but they all represent a different one of the values. So Ellie, we have talked about these. What does J stand for? Justice. J is for justice. E is for equity. T is for transformation. P? Pluralism. I? Interdependence. And G? Generosity. Crushed it. Yes, and we have a poem that we'll share next week that Ellie and some of our other young folks worked together to write, mostly Ellie. But we worked together and we wrote a poem about JETPIG a couple of weeks ago. But today we're focusing on the first two letters, so justice and equity. Those are big words. What does justice mean? Do we know? Have you heard of the Justice League, the superheroes? We talked about superheroes last week, so that was what made me think of it. So the Justice League are a bunch of superheroes that work together for justice. But what is justice? What does that mean? Do we know? Grown-ups, you want to help them out? What is justice? Fairness. Yeah, making sure everybody gets treated fairly and has the things that they need and has their rights and has all of the things that make life worth living, right? So making sure that everybody has what they need, that is part of justice. And then we have that word equity. So equity kind of sounds like things are equal, right? So making sure that everybody has equal treatment. But equity is a little bit different than equality. So let's talk about that difference a little bit. So equality means everybody gets the exact same thing, right? Equal means equal. So it's balanced on either side of the equal sign if you're talking about math, or everybody gets the same. So if everybody gets the same, does that help everybody get what they need? Not necessarily, right? So I have an illustration on my board here. So if everybody is standing behind a fence, and everybody is standing on the same ground, they're all on equal ground, right? But can everybody see over the fence? No. Only somebody that's taller than the fence can see over the fence. So maybe this is an adult, maybe this is a child, maybe these are just really tall people, I don't know. And then we've got somebody, I think that was Jeff. Jeff's pretty tall. This one might be me. This one I think is a baby in a wheelchair, I don't know, that's a really small person. That's a JETPIG. But only one of them can see over the fence because they're really tall. But they're on equal ground, so this is equal, right? Well, it doesn't seem so fair. So to make everything fair, what's something that we could do? How could we let everybody see over the fence?
If there were a platform here, it would also have to have a wheelchair.
That is true. So we need a platform with a wheelchair ramp. Let's see. Ellie, can you hold the other side of this so I can doodle on it? Thank you so much. All right, so not only do we need a platform, but we need a platform with a ramp. We have to have accessibility, right? It's kind of a weird ramp, but doing my best. All right, and then make sure our platform's tall enough. And then I'll make our wheelchair a little bit bigger. So now the person in the wheelchair can see over the fence. This is a rudimentary drawing, my apologies. All right, so person in the wheelchair can now see over the fence, and they can get up the platform. And then what do we need to do for this person in the middle?
It's another platform, but it could be a little shorter and it could have stairs.
Could be a little shorter, and it could just have stairs. And then this person can also
At least sort of.
see over the fence. There we go. And then this really tall person doesn't need anything. They have very long legs or a very long torso. All right, so now, that is not Jeff. All right, so now everybody can see over the fence. But did everybody have the same needs? No. No, everybody had different needs. I don't want to set this on fire. I should probably not. Oh, so sorry, JETPIGs. I did not mean to squish you. So equity means that everybody gets what they need, but in different ways, right? So somebody that is in a wheelchair might have a different need. Somebody somebody who's a JETPIG might have a different need. Because JETPIG has a jetpack, so they could just turn on their jetpack and fly over the fence. Maybe JETPIG would just help knock the fence down. Who knows? I've seen this illustration before where they knock down the fence, and that's liberation. So just no fence, period. That's the real solution here. So this is equity. So everybody has their needs met, but in different ways. So justice and equity. So are these important things to work for in our world? Is everything fair in our world right now? No, it's not. There's different ways that things are unfair for different people. So, are we people that want to work for justice and equity? Yay, we are, absolutely. So I have this really cool Venn diagram that I wanted to share. I love a Venn diagram. I love a visual. So this is from Dr. Ayanna Elizabeth Johnson, who is a climate activist and scientist. I'm forgetting the podcast that she was on, but it's a really big environmental podcast, and she's one of my faves. So this is something that we can use when we're talking about how we want to work for justice and equity in our world. So this says, in the top bubble, it says, what brings you joy? So what makes you happy? And this says, what are you good at? And those could be similar things. It could be different things, right? We like to be good at things, so we might like things that we are good at, or might be good at things we like. So there might be a lot of overlap in here. And then this says, what work needs doing? So what needs to be done in the world to fix all of these injustices and all of these inequities that are in our world? So things that are not just and things that are not equitable, how do we fix those things? And what needs to be done? And then in the middle here, when you overlap all of those things, so if you say, this is the thing that needs to be done, and this is what I really like to do, and this is what I know I'm good at, this, in the middle, where it all overlaps, is how you can take action in the world. And this is something we're going to work on a little bit in RE today. But I want us to start thinking about that. And this is where we get into the all ages part, because this is also for the grown-ups. I will make copies of these if you would like to take them home, grown-ups. I have physical copies that are specific to climate action, but you can also use it for any kind of justice in the world. So, what's something that you like to do? What brings you joy? What makes you happy? What do you think?
That's what makes me happy.
Yeah.
Axolotls, which also need to be helped, so I guess that would
Yeah, oh, there you go. Okay, so okay, help me hold this again. So what brings you joy? Axolotls. Am I going to spell this correctly? No. O-L-T-L. Sure.
Yeah,
Axolotls. And then what work needs doing?
axolotls need to be helped.
They need to be helped. We need to keep rivers clean, right? Rivers need to stay clean. So here, if I just do this.
And also keeping a pet axolotl can actually help
Keep rivers clean for wildlife. And then what's something that you're good at that might overlap with these things?
art. I can make
Ooh, art. That's a good one. We have lots of people in this congregation that are good at art. So if axolotls make you happy, and we have to keep rivers clean for wildlife like axolotls, and you're good at art, what kind of art could you do to keep the rivers, to help keep the rivers clean? Or what could you do using art?
posters with things like
Make posters. Make posters. And that would be called like raising awareness, right? So raising awareness that the axolotls need protection and that we need to keep their rivers clean because maybe they're endangered. I don't know. Are axolotls endangered? Yes, they are. They do only live in one part of the world also. Yeah, they only have so much.
axolotls a pet can help save the species.
I have a friend that has a pet axolotl, so she's doing a great job. But this is a really great way, really great kind of simple illustration to say, how can I work for justice and equity in my world, and what can I do to use my skills and my things that I love to make our world a more just and equitable place? Can we work on that together? Sound good? Sounds good. We have a new song. I know, we're not singing our Spinners and Weavers song for the next couple weeks. And Reverend Alex and Mr. Fred are going to help lead it. But we're going to do like a YMCA style situation where we're going to like make the letters. So we have to make the letters in JETPIG. So J, I have to stand up for E. So we have to stand up for this part. J, and then E, and then T, and then P, and then I is easy, and then G. Okay, so we're gonna do this JETPIG song, and we're gonna make all the letters. Oh, you're back! Oh no, that's my line. That's not your line. Oh no! All right, so we're gonna sing this new JETPIG song, and this is not just for the kids; it's for the grown-ups too.
This is going to require a bit of silliness from all of us,
It's
so
very
we're going to have to
silly.
get involved. But we're going to sing this. This is the JETPIG song. So this is we'll talk about more of this later in our service, where this whole thing comes from.
What is
But this is a way that we actually can kind of start to learn our values and even kind of remember them. And so we're going to have a call and response style teaching here. So don't worry, you'll get the hang of this pretty soon. Fred and I did practice a little bit beforehand, so I think we kind of know what we're doing.
Got this.
So anyway, we're going to go for it. What do you think?
I think everybody should stand up.
I think
Let's
everybody
stand
can Yes, don't make the kids
We can hear
stand
each other
alone.
better when we do that.
Also, you can move your body better. Don't whack your neighbor.
You gotta say, hey, JETPIG.
Hey, JETPIG.
Hey, JETPIG.
Hey, JETPIG.
Give me a J
J.
for justice.
Justice.
E
E,
for equity.
Equity.
T
T.
for transformation.
Transformation.
P
P.
for pluralism.
Pluralism.
I
I.
give me a G.
G.
G,
Interdependence and generosity.
Interdependence and generosity.
Gotta say, hey, JETPIG.
Hey, JETPIG.
Hey, JETPIG.
Hey, JETPIG.
Give me a Jet.
give me a
J-E-T.
Give me a PIG.
P-I-G.
Let me hear justice,
Justice.
equity,
Equity.
transformation,
Transformation.
pluralism,
Pluralism.
interdependence and generosity.
Interdependence and generosity.
It's all about love.
Love.
You gotta say, hey, JETPIG.
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 It's about love. It's about love.
All right, thank you, my friends. All right, let's go.
Our stewardship touches those within and reaches beyond these walls. The baskets that will be passed here in the sanctuary have two sides, one to help sustain our congregation and staff, and the other for community needs such as safe harbor and local food pantries, and much more. Other ways that you can give are listed on the screen. You can mail a check to the congregation. You can give through the UUCGT website. You can give through the Venco mobile app, or you can make transfer arrangements with your bank. All gifts, large and small, are received with much gratitude.
It is our practice as a religious community to set aside time in our service to mark the joys and the concerns that mark our lives, the milestones and the moments of our lived experience. I'll be sharing the joys and concerns that have been offered up for us today to hold on our hearts. And I'm Joni Jackson on the Congregational Care Team. If you have a joy or concern that's too raw or too heavy, I invite you to reach out to Reverend Alex or to one of us. And I see at least one. Would you raise your hand if you're a member of the team? Well, I see Connie. And Billy, okay. And Millie. Oh, there you are, Millie. Okay. All right. If you'd like to join us in caring for the members of our community, please talk to one of us. And you are always welcome because we hope to have new faces join us. If you'd like to keep your joy and concern private, you may do as Beth said, light a candle at any time. And you can hold it on your heart as you are held in the love of this community, because none of us are meant to travel life's journey alone. So here is what's been shared with the community. And since I left the book back there, I do have to get it. But I do have a joy that Frank Swinehart did find a condominium. So if any of you know Frank, he has a condominium. Oh, well, I can't believe it, except that a lot of us stayed home because of the weather. There are no joys and concerns. So either you have it on your heart, and we will all try to think of those of you who have joys and concerns that are too heavy to share with us. So let's pause for a moment and think about one another and how lucky we are. Thank you.
Join me in a spirit of prayer and meditation, grounding ourselves in this present moment. Returning to our breath, in and out. Spirit of life, source of love and joy, we come with hearts that feel heavy in the midst of an uncertain world. We feel the raging storms swirling around us. We are tired, exhausted, and thirsty for connection. To know that we're not in the midst of these times, traveling these days on our own. We witness the injustices and inequities in our country and world, and we see the gaps grow ever wider with each passing day, with each unjust action and unlawful order. Help us to remember that injustice and inequity will never have the final say. We invoke our daring faith that the beloved community is not only still possible, that it is near to us even now, in the times when it might feel the farthest from us. Help us to remember this dream, this hope, this prayer. We know and believe in our bones that love will prevail. Amen. Join now as we sing our song of response, Spirit of Life, together.
Sing in my heart all the come to me, come to me.
Our reading this morning centers on two of the UUA's new shared values, the values of justice and equity, which were drawn from the renewed Article 2 statements adopted last summer at General Assembly. As you hear these words, notice which principles might be behind these newer values. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant congregation to congregation and through our association to support and assist one another in our ministries. We draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on the foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to each other, to one another, for doing work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Inseparable from one another, the first two of these shared values are justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions within our congregations, our association, and society at large. And equity. We declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities.
All right, friends, here's where the pigs are finally about to fly. I hope you're ready. I'm curious how many of you know the history of this whole JETPIG thing. Is anyone confident on that? Kat, I knew you'd be one. Well, that's okay. This will be new to many of you. Some of you still might be feeling unclear what this whole pigs with jet thing, kind of is anyway. So don't worry, we'll talk about that. So the story of JETPIG goes back to my friend and colleague, the Reverend Elizabeth Mount, who noticed that the first letters of each of the new UU shared values spell out the phrase JETPIG. In their view, they use they-them pronouns. They wanted to create a more accessible way for all of us to learn and remember these newly articulated values. The values in the final report were presented in the order IPJTGE. Somehow, IPJTG didn't quite roll off the tongue. And so JETPIG became a whimsical way to remember and call to mind these new shared values, one that absolutely blew up and overtook UU social media. You could say JETPIG went viral. Tons and tons of artwork, posts, and images with pigs with jetpacks emerged. You can even see one such piece of artwork on the cover of your order of service by one of our own children here at UUCGT, our Ollie. And so one clever UU congregation even found a stuffed pig with an aviator hat on that was out there available, much like our own JETPIGs that you saw in our service. And they even created a whole Instagram page named Jenkins J. Piglet. And this stuffed JETPIG has been traveling across the country and world with posts and updates on which congregations and places that Jenkins has been able to visit. I think rumor has it Jenkins was last sighted somewhere in Egypt. Any of you curious that are curious about this can find Jenkins J. Piglet with the handle j.piglet on Instagram, and it's pretty amazing to see the places that Jenkins has already traveled to. Now, all of this talk of a powerfully propelled porcine projectile aside, that's an inside joke from Dave Newhouse, wherever you are, Dave, I'm thinking of you. JETPIG points to some really important things for us as Unitarian Universalists, the values that we share and promote together across our country and world. These new shared values are housed in a portion of the UUA's bylaws where the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism have also been found. This is known as Article 2 of the UUA bylaws. Some of you might remember my sermon on Article 2 about 2 years ago, where we explored the Article 2 revision process itself and how reviewing the principles and purposes of our UUA is actually required of us to do every 15 years according to our bylaws. Something that hasn't quite happened for us since the mid-'80s. We're running a little bit behind with that. This is so that our faith continues to be vibrant and living, so that we continue to see a Unitarian Universalism that both reflects and speaks to the world today. So that true to our faith, without any doctrines or creeds, we don't turn the 7 principles into a creed that can never be changed. This is sensitive for many of us, especially those of us that have come to love and hold the 7 principles close, myself included in this. For many of us, the 7 principles are a central part of how we've come to Unitarian Universalism and even find ourselves and our sense of belief best articulated. The rub with this is that these principles have become so dearly beloved, and we've seen clear calls from other Unitarian Universalists within our movement who don't see themselves fully reflected in the 7 principles. For example, Black, Indigenous people, and people of color in our tradition have been asking us to have stronger commitments to anti-racism and racial justice work in our communities. This is what sparked the whole 8th principle movement, the idea of adding an 8th principle to the 7 principles, affirming our commitments to spiritual wholeness through anti-racism and countering oppression. The 8th principle is even affirmed by UUCGT itself a couple of years ago as well. So additionally, the 7 principles themselves are quite a bit long-winded, and for many of us are hard to remember verbatim. How many of you are confident that you can repeat all 7 principles confidently verbatim without reading them? Right, exactly. Even as a UU minister, I find it hard to remember at times which principle is which, and even the words that the principles, how the words of the principles go in their full forms. The truth is, our movement has been long overdue for a revamping of our principles and purposes, a new way of articulating ethically, spiritually, and even theologically what it is we believe and hold close across our many UU member congregations. And these new shared values are a way of distilling down the core pieces of the principles into 7 meaning-rich words. The most profound articulation, in my opinion, being that love is at the center of what we do and what we believe as Unitarian Universalists. Never have we been able to name that so clearly as you've heard in our reading that Beth shared with you earlier, drawn straight from the bylaws. Today we're going to go deeper into 2 of those 7 shared values, the values of justice and equity. Now I know not all of us are fans of this whole JETPIG thing. I've heard from a couple of you that are a little bit skeptical with having these really essential and important values represented with such whimsy. I want to state clearly that these shared values are just as important now as they have ever been, especially in this country and world where injustice and inequity are rife, where the perpetuation of oppression and these oppressive systems we see are ever unfolding with each daily barrage of executive orders and news headlines. Who we say we are and how we show up for our values is paramount right now, as we on the religious left attempt to stand our ground on these core parts of our expansive and inclusive faith that so often feel transgressed these days. So for those of you on the fence about JETPIG, I invite you to explore these new values with an open heart. This is an important time for us to unite and to come together as we attempt to resist and subvert these powers that are actively working against these values that we hold so close. My hope is that we might move with and affirm these shared values and all the faithful hard work that has gone into them by the many other UU leaders, ministers, and congregants wide across our movement. Also, I hope that each of us might see how these 7 principles aren't truly going away with the adoption of these new shared values. The UUA has even said that the 7 principles will always be a beloved piece of our heritage and story. Yet we also know that times change, movements change. I invite you to see how the 7 principles might actually be showing up still in each of these new shared values. What we're hearing about today is an incredibly rich tapestry and distillation of who it is we say we are in 2025. A truly remarkable thing to say for Unitarian Universalists. You already know how hard it is to get UUs to agree on anything. So let's go to exploring our first shared value, the value of justice, how we work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all can thrive. Justice is an integral part of both who we are and also how we are known as Unitarian Universalists. Justice as a value actually shows up in many of the 7 principles, but especially in the 2nd and 6th principles that name it explicitly as how we are to be together with one another in our connections between us and one another, but also our connections to the wider world. UU congregations are known as places and hubs for justice work, and many of you already know that with the rich activity of our own social justice action team that we have here at UUCGT. But even in the wider Traverse City community, our congregation is known as a place where LGBTQ+ folks can find both community and belonging. Every so often, when a post is made on a public forum asking about inclusive churches and congregations in our Traverse City area, UUCGT is overwhelmingly mentioned as one of those beloved communities. I can't stop getting you from tagging me in all those different posts. More than many of the other churches were mentioned, more than many of the other churches in our area. We have a reputation of being a safe place where many can thrive. How many of you actually sought out a UU congregation because you knew you needed a place like that in your life and that you know that you'd belong there? Raise your hands. This is our story. And in our aspirations of being a truly multicultural, beloved community, we see who is so often not in the room. This is an important spiritual practice for us to do at times, to stop and ask ourselves, who is not in the room, who we hope to set a place for in our wider church community? Our shared value of justice holds us accountable to dismantling racism and all forms of oppression, which also includes that 8th principle that you've heard a little bit about. But also housed under the shared value of justice is our faith's value of inclusive, democratic processes. That we make decisions collaboratively and inclusively in our congregations, in our wider association, and in society at large, where each person has a voice and a say. Justice is not just an ethereal concept for us as Unitarian Universalists. It is a living practice we lean into. It's an architecture for how we journey with one another and create spaces at the table for those who have yet to find a home for themselves anywhere. We can summarize this well with the classic quote that you might have heard from the philosopher Dr. Cornel West that goes, "Justice is what love looks like in public." For Unitarian Universalists, justice is how we show love to one another and our wider community and world. That's the J of the JETPIG. Now, moving on to equity, this is another value that crosses over some of the same territory. The new Article 2 reads that we, as Unitarian Universalists, declare that every person is inherently worthy and has a right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. Now, does that sound familiar to anyone? A little bit? Just a little? That's almost the same as hearing our first principle, a favorite principle of many of us, including myself. But this is also a volatile claim to be making in 2025, that every person is inherently worthy, just as they are. That flourishing is a birthright that belongs to all of us. In a world where disabled folks, where queer and trans folks, where immigrants, neurodivergent folks, and people of color are so often othered or relegated to the margins, this is a necessary and profound claim. It's not a new claim for us, but it's one that we've now more clearly defined. Equity itself is that idea that it's not equality that we need to aim for. Treating everyone equally with the same exact support and means won't result in a society with equal life outcomes. Instead, equity invites us to give of our time, wisdom, money, and attention so that our communities are both more accessible but also more inclusive. That all people might flourish, living lives of dignity, love, and compassion. Now, what's distinct about this theologically for us as Unitarian Universalists is that our inherent worthiness has a whole different starting point from many other traditions. In many traditions, especially the Abrahamic faiths, our Jewish, Christian, and Muslim traditions, humanity has dignity and worth by virtue of being made in the image of God. And it's a very top-down view of human worthiness, that our dignity and worth depends on sharing of God's glory and power, something that has never quite resonated with me. I don't know about some of you. Instead, Unitarian Universalists look at human worthiness from the bottom up. Our worthiness starts first with humanity, just as it is. This theological claim is deeply profound for us, that you don't need the starting point of being made in God's image to recognize that your neighbor has inherent worth by being born as a human being. That all of us are born with worth and a right to flourish because we are born human beings. The worth and value of a human life is beyond measure and has immense potential no matter who you are or how you were born into this world. Where while we are all inherently worthy, not all of us are born into the same communities and spaces. Not all of us are truly equal in how we come into this world, with some born into great privilege and others born into scarcity and struggle. Yet all of us are worthy and deserving of a full and vibrant life. That's the meaning of equity for Unitarian Universalists, the E found in JETPIG. We'll continue to explore the remaining shared values in the next 2 Sunday services. I hope this beginning hasn't felt like I've been putting lipstick on a pig. Don't worry, they'll keep coming, the pig puns. I've got 2 more Sundays of this. The truth is, justice and equity are of vital importance in our country and world today. To close, I invite you to journey with these 2 values over the next week and see how justice and equity are reflected in your own living Unitarian Universalist faith. Here are 2 ways that you can start doing that this week. Number 1, you can advocate and speak up for those who are vulnerable in these times right now. You can make calls to legislators and show up for those who are afraid for their lives. Remember to do so in ways that genuinely honor others' needs. And as you show up and speak out, make sure that you're also making space for those who are the most impacted also to speak for themselves and share what they need. And number 2, you can continue to support equitable spaces in our society and world. Vote with your dollars by shopping at businesses owned by marginalized folks. Support also this congregational community with your time, talent, and treasure, this refuge in our world where we try hard to live fully into justice and equity every single day. All of us are accountable for making sure that this church is accessible and inclusive for all, not just those who are here in the room with us. Lean into this community and find ways to help us draw the circles wider still for those who have still yet to find a home with us. Being a refuge in the storm is a superpower of ours. We just need to remember that community is always a work in progress. Radical welcome is never finished. It is an unfurling journey. And as you leave today, remember these sacred promises that are made to each one of you. That you are born inherently worthy. That you have a right to flourish and thrive. And that all of us deserve a beloved community and a world where we are loved beyond belief. May this sacred work for justice and equity be our ongoing prayer. Amen. Let's join in a brief moment of stillness together. All right, folks, it's your favorite time in the service for the great litany of announcements. Don't worry, I've only got a couple this time. My first announcement to make is that our Sacred Self-Care Journey Group is still meeting each Tuesday here at 4 o'clock p.m. in our sanctuary. We had a really wonderful turnout this past Tuesday of 21 people, I think I counted, that participated. And the conversation that we had was just absolutely rich around these different spiritual practices. So if that's of interest to you, we have ways of you joining us online via Zoom, or you can join us here in the sanctuary Tuesdays at 4 o'clock. We'd love to have you journey with us. The last announcement I have is just that today is the last day of our budget drive, and we still have yet to hear back from about 50 of you. So just to say that we're still optimistic about reaching our $270,000 goal, but we really do need to hear from you as we start to make our plans for the next year. We have pledge forms that are available out there in the hallway. You should have already seen plenty of this in your inbox. So just make sure that if you have if you have the ability to pledge this year and that's something that you're able to do, we'd really wholeheartedly appreciate it. Your gifts help us to do our ongoing work. And just a reminder that we're going to start making phone calls soon, just to make sure that we haven't missed anybody. So please get your pledges in today. We'd really love to hear from you. All right, let's go to singing our closing hymn.
Please rise in body and spirit and sing number 108 in the Great Hymnal, My Life Flows On in Endless Song. My life flows on in endless song, all lovers' lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds and echoes in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars? I know the truth it liveth. What though the darkness round me close? Songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to their rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
Please remain standing and join hands or outstretch a hand in our favorite gesture of please do not touch me. We welcome that too. Those of you online are also welcome to outstretch your hands and join us here in the room as we end.
As the flame is extinguished, may we carry its light with us into the world, a reminder that justice and equality and equity are not just ideals, but callings. May the fire of compassion burn in our hearts, and may we work toward a more just, equitable, and loving world.
And in the spirit of covenant, community, and commitment, and in the spirit of going whole hog for justice and equity, we're not done yet. May we be made ready to serve one another and create the world we so desperately dream of. Pass a little air five or a squeeze, and happy Sunday.
Thank you.